It's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Life in the Movies podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Ryan Cam. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This week, Jacob and I are going to be unpacking some trailers. We got an embarrassment of riches of trailers over the past week. We're going to be talking about the ones for Cocaine Bear, which is a thing that I didn't believe I'd be talking about, but here we go. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the Super Mario Brothers movie, Missing, and Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And we're also going to be continuing our Daredevil coverage. But first, I got to introduce my co-host, Jacob Martin. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good tonight. It feels like Comic-Con has come early this year.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, with all these new trailers dropping, but it's excited. I'm excited to talk about all of them and talk about some Daredevil too. I've been watching a lot of Christmas stuff over on my end, and it's just been a good time so far.
Yeah, speaking of which, what have you been watching lately?
Oh, I've watched quite a bit of stuff. The other night I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special for the first time. It just recently dropped on Disney Plus, and I loved every minute of it. James Gunn directed it. He knows these characters. He's able to take these characters that we love in the other movies, put them in a Christmas special, and make a special that has all the humor you want from Guardians of the Galaxy, and with it being Christmas, makes it very heartfelt as well. This is definitely Drax and Mantis's show compared to the other movies, but they are a funny duo, especially Mantis. She got to steal a show in this. And you got Kevin Bacon in this, who is the extra icing on the cake. I loved every minute of this holiday special, and it makes me more excited to check out Volume 3.
Yes, and like I said, we'll be talking more about that trailer coming up. But I actually have not seen the holiday special yet. I've heard nothing but good things. So I will definitely be working that into the rotation. It's gonna be weird seeing these characters, and I don't know what's gonna happen in volume three. It's if it's looking like James Gunn's not going to be involved in it anymore, and pretty much he's with DC now. So this looks like it's going to be his last hurrah at Marvel. So I don't know if the Guardians are going to go out in a blaze of glory. I'm not sure, but it certainly is looking that way. Because I can't imagine the Guardians being helmed by anyone but James Gunn.
Yeah, because even during that time when James Gunn was originally fired from Disney back in, 2020 or whatever, a lot of directors did not want to touch the Guardians because they're like, oh no, nobody can do it better than James Gunn. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with these characters after the third movie comes out.
Yeah, that was in, I believe, 2018, and that was just a strange time. But like literally all of the Guardians actors came together and said, "We're not making another Guardians movie without James. Like we're just not." And so then he was rehired. So it was a weird but ultimately nice moment of unity, however long it did last.
Yeah.
But what else you got?
Another one I watched, another one I checked out is a Netflix movie called Jingle Jangle: A Christmas Journey. This movie came out in 2020. It dropped on Netflix. I did a live collab on this movie with my friend Ryan from RWR Movie Reviews. This is a Christmas musical which has a pretty epic all-star cast in it, including Forrest Whitaker, Keegan Michael Key, and Hugh Bonneville is in this movie, Ricky Martin, and even Anika None Rose, who voiced Tiana in The Princess and the Frog. I actually did enjoy this movie for what it was. It has beautiful production design and set design, costume designs. I thought it had a pretty solid story. And this movie is also a musical, and the music in this movie is absolutely outstanding. Some of the production numbers and the way they were staged, it's pretty similar, I would say, to The Greatest Showman and how these songs were executed. But I love the songs in The Greatest Showman. This comparing it to The Greatest Showman, I would say, is a compliment in this case. It's not the greatest movie in the world. I do have a bit of story issues with the movie. There's aspects of it that feel a little bit too kid friendly for its own good. It's definitely a predictable story, but I do like the cast. It's got a good message, and I overall enjoyed the storytelling, and the songs are worth watching alone. So if you haven't seen this movie, I would say it's a hidden gem. It's not a bad movie to check out for the Christmas season.
It's interesting because The Greatest Showman was such a success because I don't think anyone really saw it coming because
Mhm.
it started off like minuscule, but just word of mouth and word of mouth and word of mouth just spread to the point where it became just an overnight success. It's going to be interesting to see how many musicals come out mimicking that style. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. I personally didn't mind The Greatest Showman. I thought it was just okay. But there are people that absolutely either love or hate it. And we honestly, I think we could do a whole entire Greatest Showman conversation if you really wanted to.
Yeah, because that was one where, like you said, critics were either, people were either like they really loved the movie or they really hated the movie. But I think the aspect that was universally praised about the film, whether you like the story or not, was the soundtrack. The soundtrack in the movie was an absolute highlight.
Yeah. So what else do you have?
Let's see, another one. On another one that I recently watched the other night is "I'll Be Home for Christmas." I rewatched it, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas. This is one that has a very interesting cult following, much like with Disney's other holiday film, Hocus Pocus, on the Halloween side. I don't get the hype for Hocus Pocus, and I especially do not get the hype for "I'll Be Home for Christmas." My main problem with this movie is that they cast Jonathan Taylor Thomas as the main character. A really good child actor, but his character is so horribly unlikable in this movie. I could not stand this character's journey. He is so selfish from beginning to end. And even when he's stripped away of everything that he liked and he's on this quest to get home to his family without any money or identification, the fact that the whole story is based on a bribe because he's only there to get a car, and the fact that while on his journey he's still scheming, conning, and manipulating to get there in the most selfish of ways. I don't buy the character's change. I don't buy his apology because of the character's personality. He's very smug throughout, and I just did not care. I didn't care for the journey. I thought it was very forced. This is a movie where I think it's got some good filmmaking in there, and the performances aren't bad per se. I just dislike the main character so much that it was a very unpleasant movie to get through.
You know, this movie's weird because I remember covering this for my 25 reviews of Christmas last year. And I knew of the people that hated this movie, despised it, and I knew of the ones that loved it. And surprisingly enough, I kind of ended up on the middle and understanding both sides equally. I get why people hate the movie because Jonathan Taylor Thomas's character is just horrible. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the actor, is good. He's really good in Home Improvement. I believe he voices young Simba in Lion King, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he is good, but people hate him in this. And I think why I'm a little more lenient is that he actually does some good things. Like for example, when he wins that 5K, the Santa 5K, and he wins enough money to get his plane ticket home to make it in time to get the car, the taxi driver says, "Oh, by the way, that money usually the mayor wins it and donates it to the poor." And when he's like, turn around and like it's begrudging, but he ultimately does the right thing. And so I guess I'm a little more forgiving because ultimately in a small moment the character does do the right thing in the end. I'm not vouching for him, I'm just saying there's some wiggle room there. It's not a complete hatred cut and dry affair for me. I guess it's a little bit more of a shade of gray, I suppose.
I guess I get that. I get if anyone does enjoy the film. I think it's one of those you had to be there to really get into it. But I've only seen this movie twice, and both times I thought it was a miserable movie.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what else do you have?
And then finally, Rachel's going to be excited about this. I did cover a Hallmark movie on my 25 Days of Christmas series. Actually, 31 days, sorry. It's The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, released in 2008. I only chose this one because it starred an actor I liked, and that's Henry Winkler, who's best known for playing the Fonz on Happy Days. I do like him as a character actor. He plays a character named Uncle Frank, who comes down to visit his grown niece for the holidays. He treats her more like a daughter, pretty much. And she's like this busy workaholic mom who has no time for Christmas. His son's not, or her son's not really in the Christmas mood either. And Henry Winkler's character is trying to improve Christmas, not just for his niece, but also for her son as well. And there's a guy that he meets that was on the plane, and he ends up at the house as well because of some contrivances, and he ends up fixing things up as well. And then there's a bit of a romance between him and the niece character, and then there's also a love triangle going on as well with her and the rich snobby guy as well that at her job pretty much. This movie's very predictable. There's a lot of Hallmark tropes and cliches in this movie. You know who's going to end up with who. You know there's going to be a happy ending. But I think the core premise of the movie I thought was not bad. I really liked Henry Winkler in this movie. He's easily the best aspect of the whole movie because the charm that he usually brings to his other characters, he does it in this movie, and he's literally the best aspect of the entire film. But I think to me, the worst Hallmark aspects are still there to the point where I can't fully recommend this movie. There's even some bizarre moments where the dreamy, good-looking guy in this movie, who's it's implied he was a con man originally, in order to impress the girl that he likes, assaults a store owner with a trash can so he can get the Christmas item for her son. And I was sitting there like, what the heck am I watching? Because you either got, because what happens if he killed the guy, or what if he presses charges afterwards? It's going to be a completely different movie afterwards. Scenes like that in Hallmark movies really bug me. And there's stuff I like in it, but like the stuff that I normally dislike in Hallmark movies put it on the part where I can't recommend it. But if you really like these movies, then more power to you.
Yeah, I remember watching this, I believe, because Rachel, for our Hidden Gems podcast, we occasionally do these ask one of us to react to five of our picks, and this was one of the ones she chose for me. And I remember liking this movie quite a bit because Hallmark is people complain about the Hallmark formula, but there are clearly a ton of people who love these movies. I mean, Rachel, my friend Rachel, is making it her career to react and review and catalog all of these movies fantasy football style, and God bless her for it. She's crushing it at doing that. Before I met her, I was kind of like, yeah, these Hallmark movies, but the more I've kind of seen them and recognized that there's a lot of people who really do like these. So I've been, I guess I've been a little bit more lenient towards it. And I have seen this one and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The trash can scene was honestly quite funny to me because just it came just completely out of nowhere and I was just laughing like, oh my, there Hallmark allowed this, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a soft spot for these movies, and I'm sure my more cinephile friends are going to raise their eyebrows at me, but I'm a little more lenient on these ones than I guess I am for most.
Yeah, I guess I can get that. Like I said, there's an audience for these movies, and like I said in my video, the people that love these movies, just take my opinion with a grain of salt. You're gonna love this movie anyway. This is just the outsider who's just watching it and critiquing it, trying to find some quality, but uh, but for me, it's just not enough for me to say it's a full recommendation.
Just looking up something, it's looking like. Oh no, that's not the one. I was looking up the Hallmark Channel's net worth just out of curiosity. According to Net Worth Spot, if this will pull up. Oh, not even $1 million. That's interesting. About 587,000. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought they were making more than that, considering the amount of Christmas movies they put out every year.
Yeah, well, I hear that they're insanely cheap to make for movie standards, so that definitely has something to do with it. But it is interesting and admirable that they're still able to do that all these years later, because they've been going strong for a while now.
Yeah. All right. So that's just some of the stuff I've been watching. What have you been watching lately?
So I've been kicking off my Chris Mania series, my 25 reviews series. But I did end up seeing Violent Night in theaters this past weekend, and that review is up on the channel if anyone is interested. And I actually did enjoy this movie. I didn't love it, but I had a lot of fun with it. And really, my disenjoyment of certain parts of this movie comes down to the family. I will not spoil it, Jacob. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I won't spoil
Not
it
yet.
for you. But this family is near insufferable. Like Jacob, have you seen the movie Krampus?
Yeah, I've seen that. I know how insufferable that family is.
It's like that family, but kind of sort of better, but still not by much. And I will say no more from there. But David Harbour was so much fun as Santa here. He was just a brutalizer in this, and it's just so much fun seeing that. And your mileage of this movie is going to vary on your like or dislike of this family. So it's really all of that. But to me, I can see this. I can see people loving this and putting it into their Christmas movie rotation going forward.
Yeah, I'm hearing nothing but great buzz about this. I've seen some reviews call this the next great Christmas classic, and that's got me even more hyped to see it.
Yeah, and then like I said, my Chris Mania series has started this past week. Some of the movies I've watched that I have reviews up now are Remember the Night, The Shop Around the Corner, Meet Me in St. Louis, The Holly and the Ivy, and as of this recording, Monday the 6th, or I'm sorry, the 5th of December, is We're No Angels. And out of all of those, I think my favorite is Meet Me in St. Louis. I did enjoy the movie a bit. It's weird because people consider this a Christmas movie, and there are certainly some Christmas scenes, but there's also some Halloween movie scenes in here too. There's a whole section dedicated to Halloween. So it's a bit loose for me, but I still enjoyed the movie. We're No Angels was bizarre. It really was, because you got Humphrey Bogart, Aldo Ray, and Peter Ustinov, and you know them for serious stuff. And here they're playing in a comedy. And Humphrey Bogart makes it work for the most part, but it's weird because they're criminals and they're supposed to be like the likable criminals, but it's highly implied that one of them is a murderer. So it's weird. It's a weird dynamic. But it was directed by Michael Curtis, who directed a lot of movies, including Adventures of Robin Hood, Casablanca, Captain Blood, and that's just naming just a couple off the top of my head. So it's a very weird movie, but one I recommend to you all if you are indeed a Bogart fan. And I also ended up watching The Crowded Day, which that review dropped today. This is a very obscure UK Christmas movie, and this movie is just wild. There is a storyline that involves one of the main characters. It's a woman. She gets pregnant, and she is called the S word. It's SLUT. She gets called that, and then she contemplates committing suicide. She gets a thing of strychnine pills, is going to do it, but is talked out of it after running into a church after a man on the street catcalls after her and runs to attack her. Like, this was happening in 1954 in UK cinema. I just watching this and I was just like, what am I watching? What were the UK getting away with in the 50s? My God. But it's really the only remarkable thing about The Crowded Day, because the movie was just kind of there. It really is, but just, man, it's one of those movies where I was not prepared. That's all I would say.
Yeah, I was not expecting to hear that talking about a 1950s Christmas movie, but wow, clearly the UK was smoking something during that.
Yeah, but thankfully the reviews coming up are going to be a lot more fun. Coming up is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the original, the best version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the original 30-minute special with Boris Karloff, the only good version, minus the ending of the Illumination one, and the original Frosty the Snowman, which, I mean, that's a classic right there. And then coming up is the Christmas Carol starring George C. Scott, which I rewatched recently for the first time in a while, and I forgot how awesome that movie was. My favorite version is still the Alistair Sim one, but wow, for essentially a TV movie, they put 1,000 times more effort into it than really was necessary. But I'm so glad that they did, because that movie is so good.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good versions of A Christmas Carol. The George C. Scott is definitely one of them.
Yeah, without a doubt. But what have you all been watching lately? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. We'd love to read what you have to say. All right, Jacob, let's get into our continuing Daredevil coverage. This is Daredevil Season 2, Episode 9. And oh boy, Jacob, what did you create? This season still is getting crazy.
Yeah, we're on like the last third of the episode or the series, or at least the last third of the season. I mean, and it packs a punch even in this episode. I mean, you got Wilson Fisk is back in action, even in prison. He's like controlling that aspect, and he's corrupted a lot of the guards, and he's manipulating the Punisher to do his bidding. You got the continued drama of Matt Murdock and Foggy, and the fallout of that. You got Karen doing her own thing, investigating what's going on in the Frank Castle story. You got talk of the hand again, and you got a mysterious thing about the farm. There's a lot to unpack in this episode, and I honestly loved every minute of it. Every story was engaging. I was enthralled from start to finish. I think one, because you got Vincent D'Onofrio finally back in this season. He just pretty much elevates the entire series as a whole because of how scary of a threat that he actually is. So seeing him and John Bernthal in the same scene toe to toe, literally made my skin crawl at times. I am so excited to see more of that aspect of the show now that we got, you know, Wilson Fisk is back on the scene, even though he's in prison. The Punisher is still doing his own thing, and by the end of this episode, he's now on the loose again. So there's a lot to unpack in this episode.
Yeah, without a doubt. The episode is called 7 Minutes in Heaven. Castle gets an offer he can't refuse. Foggy and Murdoch question the future of their firm, but Karen won't give up so easily. There was a hallway scene in this episode, Jacob. I mean, people should just stay out of hallways in this universe, because it's not going to end well for you.
Oh man, that was easily the standout scene of the whole episode. You got Frank Castle in the hallway. He gets set up by Wilson Fisk, and he's taking on all these different inmates in the hallway that are trying to kill him. It is probably, it might be the one of the more violent scenes in the Daredevil series, the seasons 1 and 2 combined. The only other one I can think of that matches it is when Wilson Fisk decapitated that one dude with his car door in the first season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just brutal, brutal, brutal stuff. And it just proves that Wilson Fisk is so smart in this show because you think, oh, he's in prison. Like, what's the worst that could happen? He can literally take over the prison. Just use whatever money he has left to just fund these two inmates, their mom, and keep her safe while they're inside. And like he basically has them under his employ pretty much. Like he essentially has another Wesley at this point. And it's just like as soon as he's in, it's like, oh, what's the worst that can happen? Just like that, he owns the prison.
Yeah, it's really crazy how calculated he is in his approach too. Like you see how smart he is. He's very ruthless, and even in prison, he's still somebody you don't want to mess with, and that's what I really admire about this character. And Vincent D'Onofrio just such a great job at portraying that.
Yeah, there was not as much Daredevil in this one. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I mean there was a subplot of Foggy and Matt just having a tiff, and that just kind of broke my heart because I mean Foggy's points were not entirely wrong, but at the same time, if he could really understand what Matt is doing with the hand and just burning the candle at not both ends, but all the ends, but at the same time, Foggy just knows him now as the guy who skipped out on the trial of the century for reasons. It's very sad. It's sad.
Yeah, it very much is because you see Matt and Foggy as really good friends. We saw that in the first season and how that was such a strong friendship, and to see that fall apart is very heartbreaking. But you do see where both characters are coming from, and that's what I love about the writing of this show.
Yeah, and speaking of writing, we got to talk about Karen because she is is subtly one of the best parts of the whole show. I don't think I'm too off base with that, especially in this episode. There is a scene where after she and the editor for the New York Bulletin, I can't remember his name right now, but they go after that doctor, and basically she's hired on at the paper, and she steps into Ben Urich's old office. That's a heartbreaking little scene right there. And
Yeah, I
it's so incredibly
definitely.
well acted by
Yeah,
Deborah
I
Ann Wool.
agree. Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Sorry, I cut you off there, but that was a great moment. This actress is so underrated too, Deborah Ann Wool. I've really enjoyed her character and seeing her grow from when we first saw her in the first episode, and now that she's now confident that she can do this and she can do her own thing without relying on the other characters. And the scene where she does go into Ben's old office and that's now officially hers now, such a gut wrenching moment for sure.
Yeah, indeed. And this is the highest rated episode of the show on IMDb. It's actually, I lie. It's actually in a three-way tie with New York's Finest and Penny and Dime. So it's looking like I said, it's looking like the peak right here because it's going to be interesting to see how this season ends because as of this recording, we got 4 episodes left, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So how this is going to end, I honestly don't know, but I am looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, because when we started season 2, like I never once thought uh, where Kingpin was gonna be in all of this. I thought, oh, he's gonna be put away, and they're gonna save him for later, and they're gonna focus on a new threat. So I assumed it was like all Punisher stuff. But now that we got Wilson Fisk in here, I have no idea how this season is gonna end.
I was rewatching this and I was thinking to myself, do you think them bringing back Wilson Fisk was a bit of a crutch, or do you think that this was the idea the whole time?
I see that I don't know. I feel like I need to watch the whole season to really figure that out. I guess it depends on how the season is paid off. Because I think, like I said in previous episodes, the middle part of season two was kind of on a lull for me because I liked the Frank Castle stuff, but I wasn't too big on the Elektra stuff for the longest time. But I think now that the Elektra storyline's kind of reached its end by this point, and now that we got Wilson Fisk back on the scene, I think these last couple episodes have definitely been a lot stronger than the middle part, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But what did you all think of the episode if you have seen it? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. All right, Jacob. Well, let's get into the main event. Let's unpack some trailers. And I have separated these into an alphabetical order, and I thought it would be fun to rank these on a scale of 1 to 5. So trailer 1 to 5, trailer 1 to 5. So starting off with Cocaine Bear, and like I said in the intro, I had no idea this was going to be even a thing. This title alone just says, what in the world are we thinking? But I finally saw it attached to Violent Night, and honestly, I don't know what to make of it because next year we're getting a Winnie the Pooh slasher movie, we're getting a Grinch slasher movie, and now we're seemingly getting, and I want to say, horror movie called Cocaine Bear about a literal bear that is high on cocaine. What do we even say to that?
And the crazy thing is, it's inspired by a true story.
Yes, I did see that, and I was thinking to myself, I guess the truth truly is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this online, and I was honestly another shock that this is an actual concept that somebody thought was a good idea. It intrigues me. That's that's all there is to it. Like you see this bear sniffing the cocaine and gets high on it and becomes a murderous rampaging bear. The weird thing is you were describing it as a horror movie, yet when I was watching the trailer, it had more of a comedy vibe because of how ridiculous the premise is. I think it's going to dive in to horror aspects because we're dealing with a rampaging bear, and it looks like it's going to be very gory. But a lot of the trailer was played for laughs at people reacting to how ridiculous this was. I think I'm more intrigued to watch this on the comedy level than anything else.
Yeah, I don't know whether I should be excited for this or if I should be just dreading this. I guess I don't know if this is going to be the only trailer we get. Maybe there might be another one. I don't know. But like you said, I'm intrigued nonetheless. I feel like I should give this a 3.5, and I don't know if I'm being lowballing it or generous, but I'm going 3.5.
Well, I think I'll be more generous. I think I'm going to go four because I'm already intrigued by the concept, and also for the fact that this was Ray Liotta's last movie. He filmed scenes for it before he died, so you gotta say Ray Liotta. He ended his career on an interesting note.
Fair enough. Well, next up, we got a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and this is themed around the quote, "Time to face the music," so it is heavily implied that this is going to be the last hurrah for the Guardians. It's going to be very sad if that is the case, because I like both Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 equally. I know there are some people who famously hate Volume 2. I know our friend Rachel hates Volume 2 as well as Sean Chandler. But I personally like both Guardians 1 and 2 for different reasons. So what they're going to do with 3, I really don't know, but it's heavily implied that this is going to be the end of the road.
Yeah, I definitely felt that even when watching the trailer, that it looked like it would be the final chapter with these characters. And it looks like it's going to be an emotional gut punch. It looks like there's scenes where we'll see Rocket's tragic backstory when he was experimented on. There's a lot of implications that some characters might be killed off just in the trailer. I don't want to get myself too hyped up for that because Marvel is infamous for their death cheats. But that's that's one thing to think about. This being the final chapter of these characters, and plus the fact that this is probably the last Marvel project that James Gunn is doing since he's now over at DC full time. I am really excited for this. I do agree, Ryan. I love both Guardians and Guardians 2. And I think one of my unpopular opinions is Guardians 2, not only do I think it's better, but it's actually my second favorite MCU film behind Endgame. I really love Guardians 2. It's awesome for many, many reasons. And then the holiday special to highlight too. If 3 delivers on all accounts, Guardians might be the best franchise in the MCU along with the Avengers. If James Gunn really pulls it off, if he's able to balance the comedy that we love so well in these movies and telling an emotional closer of a trilogy, I think it's going to be a fantastic franchise all around.
Yeah, because as of this recording, the best overall franchise in MCU, I would argue would be Captain America, because you got the first Avenger, which is awesome. You got Winter Soldier, which is even better, and Civil War, which is my personal favorite MCU movie, and the best MCU movie of all time. Search your feelings, you know it's true. So if Guardians 3 can stick the landing, it's an easy contention for taking the top spot. I'm going to go 5 on this trailer. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going 5 as well. I love the Guardians, and I'm super hyped to see this.
Very good. Well, next up is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I am nervous beyond belief for this movie because, just spoiler alert, I'm going 4.5 on this trailer. It looks really great, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is a movie that nobody likes, and I think it's overhated, but at the same time, I get why people hate it. But that movie was in 2008, and this movie's coming out in 2023. And if my math is correct, Harrison Ford is going to be 15 years older than when he was in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So we're looking at a guy who's going to be 15 years older. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to be worked out or pulled off, but it's going to be directed by James Mangold. Harrison Ford is back. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is back, and she's not back, but she's debuting, and she's good. John Rhys-Davies is back as Sala, which I was not expecting, but I'm glad he's back. And Matt Mikkelsen is going to be the villain. They're trying really hard to make me like this, but I'm still just on pins and needles nervous, Jacob.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially considering that. Yeah, I agree. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is definitely the weakest of the Indiana Jones movies, but I don't hate it. It to me, it's more of a guilty pleasure than anything else. However, James Mangold directing this has me excited. There was a lot of shots in the trailer that did absolutely blow me away. I honestly got literal goosebumps watching the trailer for the first time, especially hearing that John Williams music in the trailer. And to me, it's just exciting that Harrison Ford is willing to at least do one more run in the character, considering he's 80 years old and he has no signs of slowing down. That impresses me more than anything else. And I'm excited to see what he's willing to do for this last movie. Um, Again, this you might be surprised by this, but considering I love this trailer and James Mangold hasn't made a bad movie yet from what I've seen, I'm going 5. I can't wait to see this one.
Yeah, this trailer is just trying way hard to make me get on board with it. So I'm not going full 5, I'm going 4.5 because that half a star remains as a I really just I need to see more than a teaser before I get hope because I love the Indiana Jones movies. I think the trilogy And there were periods where I did not like Temple of Doom, but I'm slowly coming around to even Temple of Doom. I think that movie has its charms for what it is. So I'm very nervous for Dial of Destiny, but it's got a ton of elements I really love. So it's looking like, and like you said, James Mangold is an excellent director. Walk the Line, Copland, Ford v Ferrari, Logan. This dude has not missed. So I'm going to have a little faith. Not a lot, but a little. Well, next up is the Super Mario Brothers movie, and this movie's gotten a lot of discussion, specifically for the casting of Chris Pratt as Mario, which I would never have done, but hey, I'm not Illumination Studios. If you take the Chris Pratt element out of this equation, this movie looks absolutely like a Super Mario Brothers movie should look. It walks like one, it talks like one. I've played more Mario Kart than Super Mario Brothers, but the characters look like the characters from their respective games. So it's clear that Illumination did their homework. Doesn't look like there's going to be a minion in sight, thank God. But I don't know. The trailer looked good. Jacob, what did you think?
Yeah, this is probably the first time I've ever been hyped to see an Illumination film because while I've enjoyed a lot of their previous movies, the, for me it's more like, it looks okay. I know it's not Disney standards, Pixar standards, but their movies are fine. But man, this movie looks absolutely awesome, even just from watching the trailer. And yeah, I wouldn't have cast Chris Pratt as Mario. His voice is a little weird for this character, and I'm still not fully sold on it, even on this full trailer. But I think I can get used to it, and if the Mario character is still enjoyable, I think I can overlook that because the rest of the voice cast I'm absolutely on board with, especially Jack Black as Bowser and Charlie Day as Luigi. I am already sold just from the trailer alone. I also agree, Ryan. The visuals look absolutely outstanding. It honestly looks like you're watching the Mario or you're playing the Mario game just from watching the trailer. I played a lot of Mario Kart more so than the other Mario games, but to me, it's exciting that they're. It looks like incorporating like a lot of the best Mario games in one movie, like the traditional Mario games and like the Smash Brothers game where Mario's fighting Donkey Kong and Mario Kart's even in the trailer where they're riding the Rainbow Road. I am really excited to see this. Even with the Chris Pratt element in there, I'm still really looking forward to this, and I'm gonna go 4.5.
I'll go slightly under you. I'll go four, but Illumination is really killing it with the animation here. They really nailed the spirit of the law at the very least. Well, next up, and this is one that I personally wanted to add to this conversation because initially we weren't going to talk about this one, but I saw it attached to Violent Night and I loved it so much that I wanted to include it. It is the trailer for Missing. This is from the director of Searching, which is one of my favorite movies of 2018. And it is a very similar style to that of that movie, except in this one, Storm Reed plays a daughter whose mother and boyfriend disappear in Colombia, and she went, and we see her through the power of webcams and iPhone cameras and all that. We see her just pull on the thread and realize that her mom is not who she thinks she is. So I love Searching, and I loved this trailer. I am so looking forward to this. I had no idea this movie was even coming out. It's immediately one of my most anticipated movies of the year.
Yeah, I saw Searching, I think only once, and I thought it was a really awesome movie for what it was, considering it's a very gimmicky style where the whole movie is like on webcams and laptops and cell phones and stuff. It was still very engrossing because of John Cho's lead performance. I don't know if this movie is going to be near as good. I only know Storm Reed for I know she was in A Wrinkle in Time, which she was okay in that. But I think I guess because she's getting older and she's more experienced, I think she can do better in other projects with the right material. And if it's from the same people behind Searching, I think this will still be good for what it is. I don't know if I want uh, repeats of the same like filmmaking though, and do like different stories in the same universe. Like, are they trying to do like a searching cinematic universe with it being the same director and the same style?
I mean, I'd be on board with it personally. I mean, I think it's very unique in how you just only see what the webcam sees. So it's very bare bones, and there's just something novel that I just like about it. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I loved searching. I just loved the desperation and how just you couldn't you couldn't wish your way out of that situation. You had to research, you had to put your nose to the grindstone, use everything available, the internet, Facebook, you had to just dig. And I don't know, I just loved it more than most, I guess.
Yeah, like the trailer I thought was fine. I'm still intrigued to see it, but I think just from watching the trailer, I was like, I've already seen this movie. It's called Searching. I don't know why they're trying to replicate it again.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm still going to go 4.5 on this one. I thought this looked great, and like I said, this is one of my most anticipated movies of next year.
Yeah, it's more of a three for me.
Right, that's fine. Well, last but certainly not least, let's talk about Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And this is, I want to say, a bit of a reboot of the Transformers movies. And oh boy, has that been needed for quite a while. And let me just say up front, I have a video on this channel where I've reviewed all the Michael Bay Transformer movies in one video. I made that because I wanted to illustrate that I don't inherently hate those movies. There are certainly some bad ones in that. Revenge of the Fallen and The Last Night are the only true, Last Night, Revenge of the Fallen, and Age of Extinction. Those are the bad ones. But Transformers 1 I really like, and I also really like Dark of the Moon. I know that's going to be taboo of me, but I actually liked Dark of the Moon. But it's very clear that the Transformers movies have needed a reboot for about a minute now. And while Bumblebee was good, it wasn't what was needed. And it's looking like this Rise of the Beast movie is exactly what is needed. It's going to be directed by Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2, a movie I thoroughly enjoyed. So I'm surprisingly looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I haven't been the biggest Transformers fan. The only Michael Bay movie in the franchise I genuinely liked was Dark of the Moon. And Bumblebee, I thought was a really good movie, but to me that was more of a standalone Transformers movie than anything else. I don't know if Bumblebee is going to be shared with Rise of the Beast, or they're going to be two separate Transformers movies or not, but whatever they're going to do, I am really intrigued by this movie. For one, it looks like it's going to tell an intriguing story. I'm already loving the visual style. I didn't realize, or I think I forgot it was from the director who did Creed 2, and I enjoyed that movie as well. And plus, you got Anthony Ramos, an actor that I've liked in past movies such as Hamilton and In the Heights. And I'm excited to see him tackle a project like this that's not really musical centric. So there's a lot I'm really intrigued about. I'm not going to go 5 or 4.5 because it's not a franchise I fully gravitated on yet. But this one I am genuinely intrigued by, and I hope it's one of the better films in the franchise. So I'm going 4 on this one.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one. I'll go 4. And I just wanted to read off some of this cast, including Michelle Yeoh, Pete Davidson, Peter Dinklage, Anthony Ramos, like you mentioned, Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal. That's an awesome name right there. Peter Cullen's returning as Optimus Prime. That's an immediate thumbs up from me. I love that dude's voice. So it's looking like they're moving in the right direction from a creative direction. I think I want to see a full trailer before I set like my thoughts on the okay, this has potential. But from what we have seen, it looks like fun. And like I said, I am a minor defender of the Bay Transformers movies. They're not all a complete wash, but it is very obvious that these movies have needed some help for quite a while now. But which of these trailers that we talked about is your favorite, and what one are you all looking forward to the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We would love to read what you have to say. And that's it. That's the end of another episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I do want to apologize for last week. This episode came out on a Friday instead of a Wednesday because I tried to upload this episode 5 times. 5. And it would get to a certain point and the progress bar would stop dead. Just completely dead as a doornail. So I want to apologize for that. I do genuinely try to get these episodes up on Wednesdays on time, but technology just kind of fails on me. So I do want to apologize. I do plan on getting this up on Wednesday as per schedule. I want to thank Jacob for your patience, and it's a privilege to do this with you every single week.
Yeah, thank you as always for having me. I definitely understand when technology messes up, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yes, and where can the people find you?
Well, people can find me on Letterboxd, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can subscribe, of course, to my YouTube channel, where I do movie reviews, TV reviews, ranking videos, and all that fun stuff. I'm currently going through my 31 Days of Christmas series. Recording this on a Monday, and the video that just dropped on my channel was my review of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. I got a lot of other videos coming this week, including reviews on Rudolph Shiny New Year, the Rankin Bass sequel, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Uh, I'll Be Home for Christmas. I got 2 live streams coming this week. I got a collab with Jason the Old Millennial and Adam from his channel at the Gym, where we'll be covering It's a Wonderful Life this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be doing a live discussion with Jacob Collins from the channel 3D Movie Cinema. We'll be discussing the 1974 Christmas slasher Black Christmas. So there's definitely some exciting Christmas content coming your way. If you're a big Christmas fan and want to see a good variety of Christmas content, definitely come over to my channel and watch some the mini Christmas reviews that I've got on there so far.
Yeah, Jacob's channel will be linked in the description. Go check him out. And Jacob will be coming back on the channel this coming Saturday for the first watch along on this channel. We'll be watching along to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I'm so excited to have Jacob on board, and I'm so looking forward to that. And Chris Mania will be continuing in full swing with those reviews going up daily throughout December. But thank you all so much for watching as per usual. Thank you, Jacob Martin. My name is Ryan Cam. We will see you in the next one. Take care.